kids!
Art 101 with Mr. Burgher.
Scholars, happy holidays, and welcome back to another episode of Art 101 with me, Mr. Burgher. I'm a professional artist, a master educator, and I attempt to provide you with the best in art historical content. Now, keep in mind, it's free, and there's lots of people that watch the videos that aren't subscribing, and if you want to be on Santa's nice list, I would recommend, if you're watching, you subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you.
Hi there. Nice day, friend.
Now, as you can tell, I've been making this content on Art 101 for quite some time, actually. 2007 was when I began. And at that time, around that time, I made a video on Robert Rauschenberg. A video that didn't really turn out bad at the time for one of those early videos, but I know I can do a better job. And as a Christmas, holiday, New Year's gift to you, I'm going to revisit Robert Rauschenberg and really do his artwork a little bit better justice, and hopefully you'll enjoy this reboot of Robert Rauschenberg. This artist is the co-founder of the pop art movement. A painter, printmaker, photographer, sculptor, theater designer, performance artist, and technologist. The master Robert Rauschenberg was absolutely epic in the art world. Now, as I mentioned, we've touched on this artist before, but originally from Port Arthur, Texas, Mr. Rauschenberg would go on to study at the University of Texas to explore pharmacy until he was drafted into the United States Navy, where he cared for mental patients at a naval hospital. Now, it was during his time in the military that he became very interested in the idea of becoming a professional artist. He would spend some time attending the Kansas City Art Institute in 1947, soon traveling to Paris to continue his studies. And here's what he said about his studies in Paris.
In those days, it was a well-known fact that if you're an artist, that you have to go to France. Yes. That's where I discovered that I was about 40-some-odd years late. And my girlfriend said that who became my wife, Sue Weil, that she was going to Black Mountain College, and I had read about it in Time magazine about the world's greatest disciplinarian in the arts, Joseph Albers. And so I thought that's what I need, discipline.
Mission accomplished!
As mentioned, he attended the Black Mountain College in North Carolina, and he studied under Joseph Albers. Joseph Albers became an educator who he said was the most important teacher that he ever had. And here's more on what Robert Rauschenberg had to say about the artist and educator Joseph Albers.
He was so clear in his direction that I was able to, by contrast, really figure out what I was. Actually, the white paintings came out of the Albers frustration. I wanted to push painting as far as I could physically imagine it. And but they didn't really succeed because there's one thing that I could not eliminate, and that was size. And if you have size, you have proportion. And if you have size and proportion, and white is a color, then you have a painting.
And sometimes, the most real things in the world are the things we can't see.
Now, over the course of his career, his style would vary. Sometimes he was working in a very abstract or conceptual sort of way, and we can see evidence of that in projects very much influenced by Joseph Albers' sorts of projects, like his erased de Kooning. a project where he literally took a drawing by William de Kooning and erased it. He erased it as an art project. He has spoken about this numerous times, and here is a collage of comments made by Mr. Rauschenberg about his erased de Kooning drawing project.
One of the things I wanted to try was an all eraser drawing.
I kept making drawings myself and erasing them, and that just looked like an erased Rauschenberg. Or, it was nothing. It wasn't art yet. And so I thought, aha, it has to be art. And Bill de Kooning was the best known, acceptable American artist that could be indisputably considered art. And so I bought a bottle of Jack Daniels and went up and knocked on his door and praying the whole time that he wouldn't be home, and then that would be the work. But he was home. And after a few awkward moments, I told him what I had in mind. And he said that he understood me, but that he wasn't for it. And I was hoping then he would refuse, and that would be the work.
And I started with a portfolio of drawings, and then, no, not those, and then...
And he said, no, it'll have to be something that I'll miss. And then I'm thinking, it doesn't have to be something you're going to miss. And then he went to his second portfolio.
So he pulled out one, he put that back, and then he said, now I'm going to give you one really hard to erase. And he picked out another. And he was right.
He gave me something that had charcoal, oil paint, pencil, crayon.
I spent, I think, nearly 3 weeks with no fewer than 15 different kinds of erasers.
Jiminy Christmas!
Jiminy Christmas indeed.
So again, he's working in a very abstract way, but again, his art style was always evolving. And in fact, the art world would evolve along with him because he would really change and shake up what was or was not accepted in the art world at the time of his creating these great works. Now, while he was taking a few classes at the Art Students League in New York, he met and became very good friends with Jasper Johns. Rauschenberg and Jasper Johns were pretty much responsible for the creation of pop art. They worked together, they developed together, and here's what Rauschenberg said about his working with and developing pop art with Jasper Johns.
I think that our main influence was that we were the only two people that were not trying to do abstract expressionism. We were the only two people doing something else. And so, we were both an audience of one to each other's work. And I think that the thing that made us get along was the fact that we were so different ourselves. I would go out on the streets and get everything, and he would shut the windows. But we had different studios, so that was all right, because I spent my time trying to mimic what I saw outdoors, and he tried to create what he felt in his head.
Never thought the day would come.
Yeah, I'm excited about it too. Yeah.
We're talking about Rauschenberg, but both of these guys were very much influenced by Marcel Duchamp. They're influenced by Surrealism. They're influenced by John Cage. They're influenced by the studies from the Black Mountain College. They were really being influenced by so many things around them that were really influencing the way that they were creating. Rauschenberg was really being influenced by all of these environmental things, including objects, and he was embedding these objects into the paintings. Taxidermied animals, radios, bottles, all these kinds of objects. He was taking them and combining them into the paintings, and so these paintings would appropriately be called his combine paintings, because he was combining three-dimensional objects into his two-dimensional paintings. Probably the most known of the combine works is Monogram. He placed a taxidermically stuffed Angora goat with a tire around his belly on top of a painting that he placed on the floor. There's a police barrier, a high heel shoe, a tennis ball, all on top of the painting surface. It's kind of funny how he found that goat, by the way.
There's a interesting aspect of the monogram here, and that is that how I found it. I was the goat, that is. Everything else is obvious how I found it. But the goat was in a used furniture office supply window. And so one day I just, on a whim, just went in and asked if the goat was for sale. And he said, well, I can't let you have it for less than $30. And so I had 15 with me, so I paid down and took it and told him I would come back with the other 15. And it took me about 2 months to get an extra $15. And I went back, and the place had gone out of business. So I always think that one of these days he's going to pick up a magazine. He's going to, I don't think he'd be coming to the museum, but recognize it as his, and he's going to ask me for the other $15.
You disgust me. How can you live with yourself?
He would go on and say that he got tired of sculpture, and so he just evolved. In 1960, Robert Rauschenberg starts making silk screens of current events. This was a technique that was also mimicked by many other artists, including Jasper Johns, Andy Warhol, and Barbara Kruger. All pop artists, all kind of gaining fame and notoriety as pop artists. Now for Rauschenberg, these images would vary from John F. Kennedy, the space race, political events, but would also include other things like baseball games and stuff like that. He would say that the artist's job is to be a witness to his time in history, and that's exactly what he did. He paid attention to what was happening right there at that time, and he embedded that into the work that he was creating. Oftentimes, these works look very abstract, but he was paying very close attention to a story that he was trying to intertwine within this patchwork of images. His unique style made him widely recognized and a very collected artist whose works would sell for upwards of tens of millions of dollars. Without question, his combine works would make him very well known, but his love and intrinsic need to experiment with new ideas and media, again including things like performance artworks, would make him an icon, an epic artist that really helped shape art of his time and make art as we know it what it is today. Knowing, understanding, and appreciating good artists and the way that they work is very important, but we also kind of have to find our own path. Before we go, here are some really great words of wisdom from Mr. Rauschenberg himself on that very topic.
I was very tempted to work like de Kooning. I would have loved to have done Rothkos, and Pollocks. But my respect for their view, that was them. And I think that, if there's a legacy, I'm very happy that I can have as enviable point of view as these people that I love so much.
I love telling that story, and I wish you and yours the absolute best of the holiday season. I hope you have a really great New Year's, and hopefully we'll have even more stuff ready to roll out for you and in the Ways of Art content, and I appreciate your subscribing and following and sharing and all of those things that good neighbors do. We'll see you on the next one. You have yourself a good day and a happy holiday.